Hello,
Hi, welcome to Field Guide to Healing. I'm Jen.
and this is Roni, and today we are going to discuss a depression first aid kit. Before we get into that, a quick disclaimer. This video is intended for all levels of depression, but if you are experiencing suicidal ideation or self harm, it is in your best interest to contact a professional or a trusted person for help. We have linked below some resources that are free in the description for you. Um, and this video and the recommendations can be used in conjunction with any additional things you're doing outside with other treatment avenues. But this is not a replacement for therapy, even though Jen and I are therapists. So, with that in mind, I want to start by asking Jen a quick question, which is when you think of first aid, what comes to mind?
Immediately, I think emergency. We need to attend to a situation that is urgent
Yeah.
and hopefully stop the emergency from getting any further and find a way to turn things around so we can progress in the way that we need to help ourselves.
Yes, absolutely. If any of you out there are having similar thoughts, this is right on. When we are thinking of first aid in the traditional definition, it is immediate medical attention for someone who is injured. And the primary goals that are involved with first aid are preserving life, preventing further injury or deterioration, and promoting recovery. So maybe some of you are like, how does this apply to depression and my mental health, being that this isn't always a physical thing? Sometimes it is. Let's be real. If we're experiencing depression, it can manifest in a lot of ways. But what we're wanting to do is we want the symptoms to not get worse. So if we can notice that they are deteriorating, how can we kind of reel it in? We want to make sure that it isn't life threatening. And we would like to promote recovery, which means can we move through this depressive episode and can we use the information gained from this experience for future episodes potentially?
Yeah.
So, Jen, where do we start here?
Yeah. Well, I think the first thing is about recognizing and noticing, I'm depressed. I'm in a depressive episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's going to look different for everyone. For me
Yeah.
specifically, it's when I notice I'm spending an hour on the couch as soon as I wake up instead of like doing something that's more active, like not even exercise, but like folding the laundry, unloading the dishwasher. Like I notice it's been like, oh, it's been a little while since I've done these things. Or noticing like
Yeah.
that little feeling of like heaviness that starts to like just kind of be, you know, around. So those are the first two things I notice, and it can be really helpful for you, for everyone to tune in with ourselves and say, okay, what are my kind of warning signs? Like, what things do I need to be tracking in myself so that I can be
Yeah.
aware of when my depression might be starting again?
Yeah, and the nice thing with this kind of, information and data gathering is that it can start at any point in time. So if you're not even in a depressive episode, you don't have to wait until you are in one to be like, "Oh, here's all the things that happen when I'm really deep in the darkness." We can also track some of the things that we do when we're not in a depressive episode. So, like Jen said, she is aware of the fact that when she isn't depressed, there is a desire to do more energized or task oriented things in the morning when getting out of bed, as opposed to returning to a laying down or relaxed position. Um, I would agree that for myself, I'm someone that does do more tasks when I'm not in a depressed place. So if I am in a place where I'm like kind of knocking all these things off and noticing that I'm kind of able to maintain a certain level of energy, I'm likely less depressed than when I'm getting out of bed, maybe walking my dogs, and then immediately returning to a like cocooned space. Um, Now we know that like rest is a necessary thing, so this isn't to be confused with maybe being burnt out or not prioritizing rest. Like we need to have a balance there, and that's different for everyone. But something that Jen and I thought could be helpful is kind of going over some of what the symptoms that you might notice when you are depressed. And again, this is different for everyone. So if we're not listing something that you have experienced, like feel free to comment below anything specific to you or things that you've noticed, because that could help another person. But here's just some things that we have compiled.
Yeah, so this is just from what we see and what we experience ourselves. But like we've been saying, harder time getting out of bed or staying active once you're out of bed, lack of interest in pleasurable activities. And what this means is like your hobbies, you just don't want to do them, or you're just kind of like staring at them and you're just not feeling it. Having a hard time actually completing tasks. So maybe like taking one dish out of the dishwasher and needing to sit back down. Um,
Yeah.
Not socializing, not wanting to reach out to people or answer anyone or open to messages. Having brain fog is another big one. Dissociating, which dissociation is when we're present physically, but our mind might be elsewhere or just totally not engaged at all. Like we kind of forget, like that classic example, you're driving down the road and you are suddenly 5 miles further when you're driving somewhere familiar. Our brain naturally dissociates because it's just a passive activity that we don't really need to be active for. And when we're depressed, it's common for our brains to say, okay, we're going to be passive. We don't really need to be actively here. What else is there?
So, some other things that you might notice are not engaging in your typical self care. So, this could be having a hard time brushing your teeth, a hard time bathing, washing your face. It might be a harder time like engaging in self care for maybe some of your animals. So, like maybe it is really hard to get up and take them out for a walk or to do certain tasks like cleaning their litter box or just different things that, are an extension of yourself. Irritability, lack or an increase in your appetite. This is a big one for a lot of people. You've heard the term emotional eating. It is a thing. Crying, being on the verge of tears, noticing that you're having a negative self concept. So the inner monologue is just a lot more negative, a lot more like hard on yourself than maybe what might typically be there. You might notice having a strong or a loud inner critic, which is, that voice in your head that's just, again, like really beating into you, being like skeptical. Like, say you do take one dish out of the dishwasher and stop, that voice is not going to like let up on the fact that you didn't complete the task, and it's still not helping you to be motivated to complete the task. There's also sleep changes, whether that's like sleeping more, whether that's sleeping more through the night, more during the day, or sleeping less, having trouble falling asleep, having trouble staying asleep. Um, I notice with, some of the clients that I work with that like just having exhaustion and being tired is a really big like trigger point to be like, okay, like there's something going on here. Like I'm not as wakeful during the day. I'm feeling really exhausted and I'm not really doing a lot. And yet I can still sleep for hours during the day. And so those are some of the things that Jen and I have noted. Again, this is not an exhaustive list. So if something hasn't hit the mark for your experience, it doesn't mean that it's not a valid representation of what your depression is.
Yeah.
So the first step is, tracking, identifying our flags that we're having a depressive episode. And like, again, don't feel bad if you aren't just like immediately like, oh, I'm depressed right now, like on the first sign of it. This takes time to become
Yeah.
familiar with. Like our learning of ourselves is a lifelong journey. So like, it's okay that you don't know. But
I also wanted to
I,
add too before we move forward, like if we're having the negative self-concept and feeling hopeless, we're not going to be thinking of ourselves as capable to like be okay, right? So like that
yeah,
makes it even harder. So seriously, like what Ronnie said, be gentle with yourself because it does take time to recognize these patterns and to even say, "Oh, wow, like I'm feeling hopeless and like my dreams are impossible and my life is not going to happen because I'm such a loser." Oh, wait, this is actually a symptom of depression right now. Right?
yeah,
It's you have to be able to be there with yourself and learn yourself and what your symptoms look like in order
yeah.
to help yourself.
And this is why, like, we encourage talking to a professional if you can, or confiding in a trusted loved one, because there is a lot of currency in being able to kind of have these aha moments. Like there's so many times I've been in session with clients where they're really anxious and they're like, I don't have any reason to be anxious. And then throughout the session, they name so many things that are causing them anxiety. And I'm like, you just named like 5 things that are making you anxious. I think like we've pinned the tail on the donkey. Or like when we're feeling depressed and then we're sitting, we're like, yeah, I'm not really socializing a lot. I'm sleeping a lot more. I'm not eating. And then you're like, oh wait, when I'm depressed I withdraw socially even though it makes me feel better, and I know that. And it's like sometimes just
Mm-hmm.
having the chance to externally or internally process what you're experiencing in real time can help kind of put the puzzle pieces together. So like talk to a trusted friend, maybe jot down some things if you even have the capacity to do that, or just like say out loud, like, I'm noticing that I am having less energy. Like again, this is all if we have the capacity to do these things, so like take what feels like it is applicable. But this is a journey to be more compassionate and take care of yourself, so be kind as you move through this. So yes, first step is we're tracking and we're identifying, but as we were kind of leading to is then we're kind of shifting into a different space, which is there something that usually helps me feel better when I'm in this space? Jen, do you have anything that comes to mind?
Yeah, I think having um, a
Mm,
shortcut system to self care is a really helpful thing because, like Ronnie, when you were saying before, like, like I'm noticing, I'm withdrawing socially. I'm like seeing these different symptoms as they play out. These are actually the things that we're missing,
yeah,
right? So saying, okay, like how can I make this happen for me? I had someone give me an example the other day. You can now schedule text messages. You can
I
schedule
love
a
it.
reply. Like if you're not falling asleep, right? And like you didn't have the energy during the day, but then you're up feeling really guilty for not answering your friends. Schedule your response to them or schedule a check-in text with a friend. And just
Oh my
saying,
gosh,
hey,
yeah.
right? Just saying, hey, like, I love you. I'm thinking about you. I hope you have a nice week. Like, that's amazing. I would love to receive a message from my friend like that.
I also found out recently that on FaceTime, and I've been talking about this forever, so like I'm glad they finally did something about it. Is that you can, like, if you're FaceTiming and they don't pick up, you can leave a video voice message, which I've always just been like, why isn't this a thing? So like even in that moment, if you're having extra energy and you try to reach out to a friend and they don't get back to you, you can kind of summarize it in that space. Because I know for me and some of my like neurodivergent friends, sometimes texting is really just like a lot of work, and it just feels like exasperating to even think about trying to take what's in your brain and write it. So like voice to text, love. It's not always the most accurate, so like you're gonna have to like check, but like a video voice message is great, or like using audio texts can be really helpful to shortcut the executive function that is needed for like a text message.
Yeah.
Yeah. So love those
So that's
things.
like, yeah, and that's a cool one for like social connecting. But like back to the very basics, like just where you are with yourself when you're feeling withdrawn and sad, depressed, having difficulty taking care of ourselves. I think something that's super helpful is the shortcut to self care, like having literally like a first aid kit type of thing in your
Yeah.
nightstand if you had one, or like a little like basket somewhere that's close to where you like to nest when you're depressed so that you have access. And what I mean by this is having like makeup wipes or cleansing wipes so that you can wash your face even if you're unable to get up. Having the toothbrushes, you like snap them and you can like brush your teeth. They're like single use. And a lot of these things, like they are single use recommendations, but it's like knowing like for my personal health and my hygiene and the cleanliness of my home, right now I'm like allowing myself to use the same single use items. That's for, I don't know if this is a thing that's for anyone else, but for me, that's a guilt block for me where I'm like, oh, great, I'm using paper plates. I'll tell you what, those paper plates, when I'm unable to unload my dishwasher, is absolutely amazing because it helps me keep my space clean.
Yeah.
So that's another recommendation. Having dry shampoo in that little basket can be really nice. Baby powder, so if you're sweating, you can like help dry your skin off to help you stay more clean. Um, Lotion, hairbrush, having some like little snacks, some healthy ones that can like give you energy rather than take away energy. So like fruit snacks are a great like comfort snack, for example, but it's high in sugars, and the sugars are going to make you, if you're not having a lot of nutrients to begin with, the sugar can deplete more energy from you. So having something like granola, um, so like a type of carbohydrate low in sugar that's going to extend the amount of energy that's stored in your body, can help you, like maybe 30 minutes later you might have a better chance of getting up because you ate some nutrition that's going to last a little bit longer. And then deodorant, anything else like that you can think of, like when you walk through the travel aisle in Walmart, for example, little things that you can grab for yourself to just like stow away in this little spot, so that you have easy access to them when you need them.
Yeah. I'd also like mention bath wipes are really helpful just to like kind of have a bird bath if you haven't been able to shower. Another shortcut to self-care that I really like that was like recommended to me by my therapist that I have then been recommending to my clients is the Finch app, which is a self-care app that you can like schedule reminders in, and you can put in certain tasks that maybe you have a hard time completing, like brushing your teeth or drinking water, or eating a meal, or scheduling in rest or texting your friends. And then you have like this little bird that you get to like dress up and like make cute, and it's like kind of a game. But it can be really supportive for some people if maybe you don't have a lot of external supports, because there's also parts in the app that are for first aid. So there's a lot of free resources in the app when you're needing this buffer. And they also can connect you with like strangers that can be like your buddies, like accountability buddies, where you can like send each other encouragement. I've had some clients really appreciate that aspect when they aren't feeling really connected to their community, to like feel like they have like a person somewhere that's rooting for them, and they can send like encouragement back and forth. And it's not like you're like texting or anything like that. It's literally just like pre automated like responses and stuff through different things. So it's not like really personal, but it feels like a connection, which is really nice. And it's
Oh, I love
free.
that.
The free version is really, really great. So like you don't have to pay for the paid version and worry about not getting like the benefits from it. So that's something that I really like as well as a thing, and I use it. So yeah.
Awesome. Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
I want to download that now. It's like having a Tamagotchi.
Yeah, it's really cute, and you could like name it, and like you can pick like the gender and like all that stuff. Let's see. My little guy's in Paris, and
Oh,
they
world
are,
traveler.
yes, yes, you get like little micro pets and like all these different things. It's really fun. Um but yeah, so that's a fun thing. Check it out if you have access to that. If not, totally okay. There's other ways for us to connect without using inherently like these, technology based things.
Yeah.
Um Okay, so again, circling back with like what helps me feel better, I think this is something that falls in line with kind of just exploring yourself.
Hmm.
Like, do I feel better when I connect with someone? So, like, having a phone call or letting a friend know like that you would like to have some kind of connection. Like, virtual is a great way to connect with people these days. But like if you do have the energy to get out of the house, or even if you have the energy just to have someone like come and visit you in your space, that's an option. I know for Jen, like cooking a meal or having a meal cooked for you, even for myself, there's something nice about being taken care of that way. If you feel comfortable asking for that support, or like have, people in your life that would be willing to support you, a partner, a friend, etc. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And then, like you mentioned before, like this is like when you're helping yourself through depression, like finding that self-compassion. Like what do you need to hear? Like what helps you feel compassion towards yourself or compassion to the situation that you're in?
A big one with this that I instruct people to use is like, how would you talk to a friend or a child if they were experiencing something like this? And like, what words would you use? I think a lot of times when we're talking to ourselves, we forget that the capacity is already inside of us, because innately most people's baseline when being compassionate towards others is bigger. So it's kind of just reversing the script and giving yourself what you would offer to someone else. And again, it might not be exactly the same, but if you're noticing that you're really struggling to find a compassionate or a soft inner voice, sometimes it's just like, okay, like what might I say to someone else if they came to me with this?
Yeah,
And that usually helps to soften it up a little bit.
absolutely. And if that's still not working, you can type into Google or whatever search engine you prefer, self-compassion statements for depression.
Yes, yeah,
And then you can try
definitely.
on some of those, practice saying them, and see how that feels.
Yeah, and like sometimes you'll find one that really works. Like that's what I'll do with clients. Sometimes I'll read a couple different ones. I'm like, if any of these feel good, like feel free to use them. But like if something else is coming to mind, like use that. Like let that be the inspiration that kind of helps you. Um, okay, so with that, I think we are shifting in. We have like a couple little questions here, but I think we'll save those for more towards the end. And I'm thinking like the next thing is like making accommodations, right? Like, how can I accommodate myself? And Jen was kind of talking about this when she was going into like these shortcuts for self care. Um, and this is more of a ahead of time thing. So this is like knowing that we're someone that does experience depression and that a depressive episode will likely come. And it's using the time when we have the energy and preparing for when we don't. Because like we don't know when these things are always going to strike. So it's kind of like, okay, if I have the energy, I'm going to do this little thing. Like, so for me, something I will do is cutting up like my fruit or my vegetables when I have the energy to do so. Like, I'll just take the time to clean and cut and put them in their little packages and put them in the fridge, because it just feels so much easier to go in the fridge and like grab my little mason jar of strawberries and like pour it out into a bowl and like not have to do anything because they're already cleaned and cut. Does anything come to mind for you, Jen, when you think about these things?
Yeah, when I go grocery shopping, I like to think about, like, okay, realistically, how much am I going to be able to cook? And like what I mean by that is, do I have the energy to cook?
It's a big one.
Um, yeah. So if I don't, a big thing for me is the same amount of money to buy a pack of like the 4 chicken breasts as it is to buy a rotisserie chicken. So I'll grab a rotisserie chicken instead for the week.
Yeah.
And then something else too is like frozen veggies. If I have a feeling that I'm not going to really be able to cook those vegetables, um, that's a great option. It may whatever. It's nutrients, right? You're feeding yourself is the whole point. Doesn't matter if there's a different taste or something. What happened for me just now is I love to cook. So it is something that
Yeah.
I do miss when I'm depressed. But if I'm able to say, okay, I'm going to put together a bowl, right? I have the hardest thing I have to cook that day is rice. I have the chicken already cooked. I can grab the frozen bag of veggies and just steam them in the microwave, pour them in, mix it all together. Cool, right? It's something that maybe it's a little bit more standing time than I would like to be able to get that rice cooked, but I still have a nutritious meal. So buying things ahead of
Yeah.
time, like that are frozen, things that are going to stay on my shelf and be totally fine for a very long time, that only take 10 minutes to make, and then buying fresh foods that are already prepared that are equivalent in price so that it's not like going to damage me too bad. It's going to be all right. But I'm still getting healthy foods.
Yeah. And I also love like crock pot meals, like things where you can kind of just like throw in the ingredients, turn it on, and let it like do its thing. And then you have maybe a couple days worth of like back stock. Cause like my partner and I will usually have it for dinner and then like lunches and then maybe like another dinner if we
Mm-hmm.
don't want to like cook. So like crock pot meals are really great. And something that I've done with some of my friends is we've like had conversations where it's like I'm having a really hard time finding meal inspiration and like I'm not really wanting to cook. What are some of your go-to like easy meals? And we've like recipe traded. And that's been really nice just to like, you know, have some variety and try out some meals that our friends like. Like one is like barbecue chicken sliders and it's a crock pot meal and you just like put the meat in, put like some onions in, put some
So
like
good.
barbecue. yeah, and it makes sandwiches, or like you could just pair it without bread with other things. So it's like a nice protein, and protein's, really important for our energy and our muscles and all of these different things. So just like Jen said, kind of like thinking about how can I get my dietary and nutrition needs met and still be honoring my energetic supplies that I currently have as I move through the week.
Yeah.
Um,
That actually just reminded me too. That's a really good meal, crockpot meals to freeze. Um,
mm-hmm. Oh
so like
yeah,
you
they freeze
have,
so well.
yeah, exactly, right? So you'll have dinner, lunch for a couple of days, but you can put a couple servings into a freezer safe container or bag. And then like you're like, "Oh my gosh, I can't cook." And then you remember, I have sliders in the freezer, right? It's like I've been there. It's the best feeling when you remember that you
Oh,
have
it's
like a
so
really tasty
nice.
meal. I had corn chowder the other day that I made like 2 months ago, and I was like, yes, like, let's go.
Yeah, no, and it's like a little gift from like, like the version of you that's not feeling the depths of depression and
Yeah,
suffering.
no, really, it is, which is so nice.
Yes.
And then I'm trying to think. Oh, this is a big one. If I know that I have vegetables, like other food in my fridge that I bought with optimism, they would be cooked and not go bad. I will see if any of my family members or friends are around and like call them on the phone or FaceTime and have a cooking buddy. So I'm not focused on the cooking part. I have someone to talk to that's gonna make me feel better. Um,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
really nice because then you get to like cook up. Like what I do is I just kind of put everything on like a sheet pan and season it all the same way and just put it in the oven. And it takes like 25 minutes, and then you have cooked vegetables, right? So it extends the amount of time that you can actually eat them instead of them having like going bad the next day.
Yeah. No, and that's like for those of you who are neurodivergent, like body doubling, like having someone present in some way can really help with having tasks get completed that you are not excited about.
Mm-hmm.
Um and I think really like when we kind of shifted into like shame points, like Jen has already identified some of these places where shame can come up, like paper plates versus like using regular dishes. For those of us who are in the neurodivergent space and like not, I think it's really important to allow yourself different ways to do things than what might be like accepted or like neurotypically coded. Like giving ourselves permission to not put clothes away, I think is something that's for everyone, but also like allow yourself to do things differently. So like some people it's like I need to take them out and fold them and put them away. And like, if we don't have the executive functioning points to do that, it's like maybe you have two baskets and one's for clean clothes and one's for dirty, and you don't fold them at all. And you just pull them out as needed and use fabrics in your wardrobe that aren't as prone to wrinkling if that's something that bothers you. Um, like we said, like keeping dry shampoo, baby powders, deodorants on hand can be really helpful. Keeping mints in your purse, um, these little things that can help if like we haven't been able to take care of ourselves in the ways that we want to help us feel a little bit better. Um, and if we're thinking about shame points, it can be really hard to ask for help sometimes, even from people that we feel comfortable with. Um, so again, like maybe when we are feeling like we have energy and we're feeling okay, is being able to have these conversations around like our mental health, and even exploring like what about this is hard for me? Like is it hard to express needs? Is it hard to identify the fact that I do have needs that might be dependent on other people? Is it hard for me to be in community? Um, what does that look like? Do I have an easier time offering help than receiving help? Like, what does that look like for you? And sometimes, like, having these conversations, while they can be difficult, allow you insight not only into your own experience, but into the lived experience of the people that you're around. And it might soften that space when you aren't feeling so healthy and well.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Because when we talk about the shame points, it's the places in our lives where we feel guilty for existing, either because we're taking up
Mm.
space in the world or in someone else's life that we don't deserve to take up. That's what the shame is telling us about ourselves. So being able to, like we said before, like give yourself permission to not put your clothes away. That's letting yourself be who you are, where you are, and recognizing it's okay. It's okay. So you're offering yourself that compassion. And then by being able to be compassionate with yourself, you have like a glimpse into the people in my life love me. Like, I'm able to
Yeah.
have difficult conversations with them because they want me in their life.
Yeah. And like remembering that when we're in relationship with people, like there is obligation inherently in relationships, and we get to kind of choose sometimes that obligation. Like when we're in a community, is like we don't always get to choose who we're in community with, so that's a whole separate thing. But like in relationships, there is obligation, and it's like we choose that. Like, I want to be obligated to this person. I want to show up for them in these ways. And like, it doesn't always mean that it's not going to feel like we're going out of our way, or like that maybe we are taking extra steps, but like that is what it is to be in community sometimes, is like doing those things. Um,
Yeah.
Last but not least, we have a little segment that's just curated compassion. And this is, again, things that we can do when we have a little bit more energy, or honestly, like other people have done it, so you can just like find it on the internet. Um, but like playlists. I'm someone who really likes making playlists. I do it all the time for many different reasons. So like with playlists, it can be music, it could be meditation playlists, it can be cleanses, it can be affirmations. There's a lot of like different music out there that is just affirmation based, which I really like. But making curated playlists to listen to when maybe you are feeling down, because I feel like music and meditation and cleanses and affirmations can be really uplifting and empowering when maybe we don't have that within us. And we don't want to, like, there's a time and place to be in our emotions and be in sadness and be in heaviness, and like listen to music and listen to things that are aligned with that. And there's also spaces where we want to like shift, and I find that these kinds of things can be really healing and like balm for my soul. So I would encourage those of you who maybe find like medicine through these kinds of things to either make them for yourselves based off of like things that you like. And it doesn't have to be like curating an entire thing at once. Sometimes I have the energy to curate an entire thing at once, and sometimes I have the energy to be like, oh, I like this song, I'm just going to throw it in a playlist and like build it over time. Um but like you could also just like find playlists and listen to them. The nice thing about curating it yourself is it's self-directed, so you really get to choose what's in it. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff out there which I find like a lot of great things that I wouldn't have found on my own through other people's playlists. Jen, do you have anything else that comes to mind for you in this space?
Yeah, it's an active activity. Like you're purposefully creating compassion toward yourself, which I think is super helpful because if you're feeling depressed and like actually having compassion doesn't feel accessible, this is a way for you to build the self-compassion without directly saying, I love myself, or you know what I mean? 'Cause, like, that's what it can, because that's not, I just touched the mic. Sorry if that was really loud for everyone. um, but like saying I love myself is not genuine self-compassion. It's, but that's what it feels like, and like from an outsider's perspective, what it can sound like. Um, anyway, it's daunting and it can feel foo-foo and goofy at times if you don't like yourself, right? It can be annoying to have to
Yeah.
say nice things to yourself. So being able to take the stance of actively curating, creating compassion, so picking things that do help you feel good or like tap into your feels. Like I had the one by Bird Talker, the album. I listened to it every single day during the COVID lockdown this first few months. And I tell you, man, that got me through. Like that was so big. And it was because like I chose the specific songs. I ordered them in a certain way and I added other ones in there. And being able to sit with myself and just like pick and choose what I needed to hear. It wasn't me saying I love myself or having to do anything like that, but it was me saying I'm going to gift myself the ability to tune in to my emotions. So active versus something that would be like passive when it
Yeah.
comes to self-compassion. Um, and like active versus passive, what I mean by that is like actually pausing before we redirect ourselves when we're noticing shame or depression symptoms. Like, for example, you notice the dishes are stacked up. So you're seeing that. You kind of feel like a frozen, guilty type of feeling come over you, and you immediately pull out your phone and you start scrolling and you walk away. When you land wherever you land, the couch, floor, table, right? You just kind of enter scroll mode. So you're dissociating from the situation. That's a passive way to disengage from shame. Whereas if you do active, what you're going to do instead is notice that whole process happen. Like, you're noticing the dishes and you're noticing that you have that icy, guilty feeling come over you and you want to grab your phone. Pull your phone out, sure, but maybe like put it down. I love the hands on the heart cue. For me, that's a way that I tap into myself. Wow, I feel really guilty for looking at those dirty dishes and knowing I didn't do them. And you don't have to go any further. That can be it. And then you disengage from the dirty dishes
Yeah.
and you walk away. And Ronnie,
Yeah.
like, what do you think that difference will really do for people if they give this a try?
So I think, like you said, you're actively participating as opposed to going along with like the inner narrative that's kind of flowing through you. And I think when we allow ourselves space to pause and recalibrate to the present moment and become an observer as opposed to a participant, we can notice the impact, we can notice the feelings that surface, we can acknowledge them, and then we don't have to just go along with what's being created. We can choose to just move forward from it and not allow that narrative to like continue taking a hold of us.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Recalibrating to the present moment. That's like exactly what we're trying to do, because the depression takes over and we lose ourselves in that. So cues, like, it gets us back into where we really are. So we're actively participating in life, even if it's just for that brief moment. Where the depression gets pressed, like there's a pause, and we get to actively participate in our life again, even if it's only for a second, which helps us, like, cognitively, right? We're building those pathways again to get out of the depressive episode.
Yeah, like it makes me think of Queen Herbie, my girl. It's like tuning in and turning on. And like we're tuning
Mm.
into the present moment, we're turning ourselves on, and we are getting to move forward with like stuff that's ours. Because I think sometimes the guilt that comes up with tasks not being completed is like societally bred.
Mm.
And sorry for my dog. He's having a moment downstairs if you can hear him. Um yeah, we're coming towards the end here. So I have like two last questions, and then we're just gonna like briefly summarize this depression toolkit into like a like 1 minute little ditty. But the questions I have are: one, when do you know that you need a support person? And when do you know that you need professional support?
Mm. That's going to be looking at those symptoms, like that master list we presented at the beginning, and knowing, okay, like, when am I unable to help myself? And that's when we might want a support person. And that can be asking a friend, like body doubling, or even asking someone like, hey, like, can you sit with me while I fold the laundry? Or can you help me fold the laundry? If you're people who like their laundry folded. Asking someone, hey, like, I don't have the energy to cook. Can you bring home food or bring it over to me? Um, hey, I'm low on funds. Can you Venmo me $5 because I really need an emotional support coffee right now? Right? Like, think about the people in your life and who you can go to. That's something that my sister and I will do for each other, emotional support coffees, because you can justify, like, it's hard to justify $5 on yourself, but $5 on one of your favorite people, that's something that's easier to do. And then,
Definitely.
yeah. And then, like, knowing, like, when you need a professional person to support you, that's going to be when you'd feel too guilty to even ask your trusted people for help. And that also can be when the symptoms of depression start to get to the point of hopelessness, when the negative self-talk, that inner narrative, is just really making you feel like you're bad, right? Like you don't deserve to exist. That's when it's time to reach out to someone for more professional support. And therapy, of course, is ideal. It's not always accessible, unfortunately. And that's why we made a pretty extensive list of free resources that you can call, different
Yeah.
things you can get, things, different platforms and phone numbers and websites that you can access to get support.
Yes, and those will be linked in our description below. Know that all of these resources, there's going to be some that might involve the police, and we also listed those that don't involve the police. People should have access to healthcare without worrying about having police involved in that. So, to summarize this depression first aid kit, which I think is important because this is a 40-minute conversation.
Ooh.
So, with depression first aid, we track and identify flags for the depressive episode beginning. We notice what helps us to feel better. We offer our self compassion if possible, shortcuts to self care, making accommodations, and curating compassion. Some of these are proactive and some of these are, retroactive, meaning before versus after. Is there any notes that you have, Jen, before we sign off today?
Just one thing. I think what's beautiful about this first aid kit is that it shows that you do get through the episode. You do get through the depression. And you can actually attend to yourself and like look at, okay, what happened here? So I can learn from it for next time. It's These symptoms are something that feels so icky and sticky and heavy. And at the same time, they're a part of you. You don't need to shame them. You can learn them, you can trust them. Like Ronnie said, for like example, okay, maybe this is burnout. Maybe I do need that rest. Right? Like when does it start to feel like bad rest, right? It's really just being able to tune into that self-awareness and gift yourself that self-awareness so that you can keep taking steps towards knowing how to help yourself get through these experiences when they happen.
Yeah. And it's okay to feel like they suck and that it doesn't feel good and that this isn't the ideal. But know that there does come a time in your journey where you are truly able to know yourself more from these experiences and you're able to better take care of yourself. And that when these things do come up, we're able to be more tuned in to the triggers or to some of the contributing factors so that we can mitigate and reduce further injury.
Yeah. Beautifully said.
So this is Ronnie.
This is Jen.
And this is Field Guide to Healing. We're happy to have you here. Tune in and turn on for the next episode. And until then, catch you on
We'll
the
catch you on the
trails.
trails.